Today's video is all about creating abstract art in our card making. These are going to be two clean and simple designs that I'm going to share with you today, and stick around to the end where I'm sharing a bonus card for you. There's two stamp sets that I'm mainly going to be using today. The first one is Grow Through, and that's this first one. And the second one is going to be Happy Life. Now, Grow Through is going to be the main stamp that I'm going to be using today because it has these abstract images on it. Each of these abstract designs fit into a corner of your cardstock. But I'm going to show you later on how you can just change the orientation of it to get a different look. To make my designs a little bit closer together, I am starting with a smaller piece of cardstock. You can see this is about 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and this is heavyweight cardstock from Gina Designs. I started with that first image in sea glass ink, and I did stamp it a couple times. Now it looks a little splotchy, but once the ink dries, it smooths out beautifully. The second color that I'm using with a different image that I lined in the corner of the cardstock is Light Carnation. Now, since a lot of these are a solid design, you want to make sure to condition your stamps really well. That can either be by just cleaning it before you use it to stamp. You could stamp it in a Versamark ink a couple times, or rubbing your hand over it. Now, each of those will help condition it, but the more you use it, the more you stamp with the image, the better it's going to be. Now, this one, I noticed immediately that it had some little bubbles underneath, which is going to give me an uneven stamping. So I did kind of pick that stamp up just a little bit to relieve those air bubbles, and then inked it up again. And I'm going to just let that dry. If I need to come back and stamp it again, I can. But typically, once I just let things dry, they come out great. So that last color I had used was Tranquil Teal, and now I'm coming in, and here, this one is a corner piece, but I'm tilting it, so that way I don't have to overlap the other image. And this one I'm going to stamp in Prickly Pear. Now you can overlap the images if you want to, but I wanted to make sure and keep each one separate so it had its own definition. I had a little uneven stamping, so I'm going to stamp that again to make sure it is a really nice clean impression. Then I'm going to bring images in from the Happy Life stamp set. These images have more of a solid look to them versus some of the ones that are on the Grow Through stamp set. I wanted one to hang off the edge, so I brought in my Misty corner to push my cardstock up a little bit. Then I can bring in that leaf, lay that down, and I will pick these up with the door of the Misty. And then once those images are picked up, I can bring my Misty corner back in to make sure everything is lined up in place again. And a fun technique that you can try is take your black Onyx ink pad and swipe it across your stamps. This is going to give more of a textured look to your solid images. So this is really fun, very easy to do. So give that technique a try. Then I'm going to bring the sentiment in, and my sentiment that I'm using today is off of the Perfect Protea stamp set. I just made sure that was straight using one of my Misty rulers and stamping that in the black Onyx ink. If you wanted to make this a 1-layer card, you would have needed to start with a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I wanted the designs closer together, which is why I had previously trimmed it down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now I'm going to layer up that panel with pieces that are cut to the same size. This just adds that little bit of dimension, so it's still a very clean and simple design, but just has that little pop of dimension. And then I can add this to a white card base that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I felt this needed just a little bit of sparkle, so I am going to bring in my clear quartz solid sequins, which is one of my favorites from Gina Designs, and I'm just adding a few over those leaf images or those branchy images. And that's going to complete the first card. Very clean and simple and quick to do. For my second card, I'm once again using the Grow Through stamp set, except this time I'm only using one of those abstract images. I started out with a piece of cardstock. This is the heavyweight cardstock from Gina, and it is cut to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. The first color I stamped is Light Carnation. Then I'm going to just kind of turn my cardstock, line up my image again in the corner, and stamp in Prickly Pear. And you can see the more that I'm using this solid image, the more conditioned it's getting, and I don't have to stamp as many times. My third color I'm stamping is Sweet Mango. Then I'll turn my cardstock. The reason I'm turning it is it's just easier for me to have that image hanging off that right side. So that last color I stamped is Sea Glass. There are a few other really fun images on the Grow Through stamp set, one of which is kind of this line art. So it's just a thin line that has some kind of waves in it or hilly look to it. So I just lined that up on one of the corners and I'm stamping that in the black Onyx ink. There is also this little design that looks like splatters with hearts in it that I thought was really cute. So I placed that in the opposite corner and stamped that in the black Onyx ink. There is another image in there that I believe actually goes with the flower that is on that stamp set, but I thought it made a really good design element for the front of the card. I was really liking how this was looking and it looked almost like framed art, so I decided to trim down this panel a little bit more so that when I attached it to a card base, it did have kind of that thicker frame around it to resemble framed art. The sentiment that I'm going to use for the front of this card is from the Autumn Splendor Kit Kit, and this is the Thanks Word and Shadow die. I die cut the thanks from some matte gold cardstock and also 2 more times from heavy white cardstock, and then I'm layering those together with my Connect glue that I have in these mini glue tube bottles. I love, love, love these mini glue tubes because the tip on it is so fine and is great for these small sentiments. I had already gone ahead and layered up my panel with white cardstock like I did in my previous card, added the thanks on top, and this time I'm bringing in the Clue Dewdrops. And that finishes up this card project, but I have one more I wanted to show you that I created off screen. So this is using that same Grow Through stamp set. Now the colors I used here are Sandy Beach, Peach Bellini, and Whisper. Whisper I did have to stamp a couple times because it is such a light colored ink. I also stamped that floral line art in black Onyx ink over the top. I finished it off with a sentiment from the Mixed Messages set. I absolutely loved creating these abstract cards with the Grow Through stamp set. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Here are a few more videos I think you might enjoy. Thanks for watching.